A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0. And so for today, I'm going to follow up on a couple of things that I had previously addressed in the last installment of the Vlog-A-Thon 5.0, where I've discussed a few things regarding what plans I have for the future. Within 5 to 10 years, anything could potentially happen as I cruise on through my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and possibly many other things. But if there's one really big event that I might not be able to see for a very long time after it happens, it'd probably have to be the upcoming 2024 solar eclipse. Yes. So, do be sure to ignore the EMT sirens in the background because they are loud. But let's talk a bit about what's going to go on when the next solar eclipse happens. It'll most likely be taking place throughout most parts of America. It'll be a bit of a thin line that you'll get to see in terms of the moon successfully blocking the sun. And of course, we can't forget, we gotta have eye protection when we see it. That moon may block the sun, but the solar rays are still very powerful. If you stare at them directly, they could hurt you pretty badly. So, what I will have to say about the upcoming event itself is that I sure did miss out on the 2017 eclipse, but through all other things that have happened with the moon and the sun, I mean, we've encountered heat waves, we've had lunar eclipses, and we've certainly gone through at least one particular event where it seemed non-existent, but the sun and the moon have had different things going on with each other. But for 2024, the upcoming solar eclipse that is going to take place is going to be a pretty epic piece of my life. At 25 years old at the time, I sure am going to have quite a time to be alive in. So, to put it bluntly, let's just point out, this is something that I do plan on joining in. You're probably wondering exactly where. Well, to tell you the truth, it's going to have a sort of, well, downward slope sort of curve. When it comes through, the solar eclipse is basically going to start near the Pacific Northwest and start going downwards, pretty much like that. It'll somewhat close up to the Gulf of Mexico, but when it goes down there, that's pretty much just that. Anyone down there who might be able to spot it will spot it, but to simply put it bluntly, I'll probably just go ahead and say that it's going to be a really thin window, but when it does happen, I will, in fact, be amazed. So, of course, to put up a good map here that I can pull up in terms of how the Great American Eclipse of 2024 will pretty much look something like this. As you can see, the path of it is going to be the totality on April 8th. But what it's going to do is at the Pacific Northwest, where one comes in and then the other side comes in from the other side on the East Coast. Of course, it's going to go downwards like this. But if you're expecting to see the solar eclipse itself, then apart from where the sun's path is going there and the moon's path is coming here, when they come together, it's actually going to start in Maine. In terms of how the eclipse's path is going to take in place, the path of totality, in terms of how the totality path will take place, it'll start all the way up near Maine and come down like this, setting off near Texas. The border, of course, that leads down to Mexico. But when it does happen, I sure will, in fact, find myself a nice suitable location as close to Menominee Falls as possible, which will most likely be around the Indianapolis area. So, of course, that'll be quite a time to be alive in, if you will, in April 2024. Because apart from what we saw in 2017, it sure was, in fact, quite an event. but knowing that the next one's going to happen in 2024, I sure am going to be rather excited to get to go down to Indianapolis and be able to see it for the very first time. Because apart from seeing photos on the web, seeing one in person might be a whole different experience. You can never truly capture the heartwarming message that an in-person event simply brings to you. And no, I'm not talking about 2020 when that happens, because there was every possible way that we could avoid it, and we never did. So, I'll never talk about that again, but of course, the Eclipse, I'm sure hoping it'll be a fun time. So, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.